Okay, here's a question for you all. Do you ever feel lonely? Well, if you answered yes, you are not alone. About 1 in 2 adults report feeling lonely, and it's such a big problem in this country that the Surgeon General has declared it the latest public health epidemic. It can even be deadly. Here's what the Surgeon General said about it. Take a look.
Research shows that loneliness and isolation are associated with a greater risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. In fact, lacking connection can increase the risk of premature death to levels comparable to smoking daily.
So DBL Nation, we gotta hear from you. How often do you feel lonely? Go to dblvote.com. What do we think about the loneliness epidemic? And Tori, do you think that we're gonna be able to fix it?
I think we have to address, first off, I am someone on this panel that feels probably the most lonely. I have a terrible time with loneliness. I have a deep fear of it. When I say FOMO and we all laugh, like, it is more than that. So anyone out there feeling lonely at this moment, like, I get it.
Can you expound on that?
Yeah, basically, this is gonna sound really weird, but when we were Neanderthals, we needed tribes and villages to get together because you would survive. So when I don't feel like I have anybody out there, I feel as if I'm tribeless. And in my lizard brain, my fight or flight starts working, and I think it's lonely equals danger. So if I don't have anyone around, I'm gonna die. It's that panicky. So it's not, it is something to be funny, but people are suffering. I mean, to your bones, suffering. And I've been there, and I know what that's like. And I think that's important for TV personalities to say that out loud. It is an awfully cold, lonely, dark place. I think the pandemic is an enormous part of this. I think social media is an enormous part of this. And I think that the best way to get out and get help literally could be the DBL chat. Little tiny baby steps that can at least see a tiny bit of light will start to make the opening bigger. But I've been there, man. I have been there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are suffering because I think people suffered from loneliness before the pandemic, but a lot of people were forced to isolate by themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And it normalized the idea of social isolation. So when people might have spoken out about feelings that they were having before, they might have been a little less likely to say that because it felt like everyone was experiencing that same thing. But I just saw a video on social media by this young woman in New York. Her name is Maite, and she's probably in her 30s, and she talked about touch isolation and how she hadn't been touched for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So I think we have a little piece of that.
I feel like I'm dying from like touch starvation, y'all. I don't get hugs. I don't know. I feel like if I were to get the kind of hug that I really want, I would crumble into pieces. It could be like maybe a hello, whatever, maybe. But it's not enough. I don't know how am I gonna go the rest of my life like this?
And I watched that a couple times because, first of all, I just thought she was so brave to put herself out like that. And it really, I believe, created communities of people talking about it around that age group. But then you have the other side where people are upper in age, and it's not only the proximity issue of the next closest person because they've lost, their friends and their family along the way. It's also a technological issue because they may not be well versed on technology to engage with people in that way. And I was thinking about my mom, who now is a part of a senior group, and she's like, well, I guess I'm going from spades to learning how to play euchre because there's this, little group that gets together, and she's actually enrolling everyone who doesn't understand how to use a computer in her group.
That's interaction as well.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And I mean, I think that we as a society, we tend to experience things and just move on like they didn't happen. Jeff, you think about the pandemic, most polarizing time, not only were we all in our caves, but George Floyd is going on.
Right.
Trump is very polarizing. There's a global pandemic, that little thing.
People dying.
People dying, people that are dying, and then we come out of that. And then we immediately start running stories about people fighting on airplanes. Like, what's going on with people? people have been isolated for so long that we did see a spike in road rage. And now you're starting to see that die down again as we're learning how to commune with people. But how we did before is totally different because it's online. We did a story about people trying to just get Dancing with the Stars on streaming. And some people were like, this is difficult for me. So how do we expect them to find a community that's a positive one for them and not a scam and not a ripoff?
Right. And the first thing to do, I just wanted to quickly say, is I'm proud of the Surgeon General to say this. It's as bad as smoking. It will hurt and kill you. This has a physical epidemic. Please go. I just meant to say it's that bad. It's not just mental.
Yeah, quickly, I think social media has a lot to blame with this. And I don't mean to blame everything on social media, but I have such a strong sense of family and community in my life. And I don't feel that lonely. There's different spectrums of lonely. Of course, I'm lonely at times, but not as much as the woman, the example we just saw. It's important to build up your community, whether it be social, whether it be your family, be a good neighbor, be definitely a member of your community in any way you can, join organizations. The more you involve yourself with that negativity online and think these people who are anonymous online are your friends and filling your life with negativity, that breaks down the wall. Build up your own wall. Build your own home of positivity, because if you're being negative and nasty to other people, it's going to come back and it's tearing down the walls of your own community and yourself.
Amen
Well
to
said.
that.
Yeah.
Well said. And let me reveal the poll results. How often do you feel lonely? 42% of you say a lot. Wow. 33% of you say sometimes. I have to look up because my eyesight's bad. And 14% say rarely. 11% of you say never.